Motivator here. How are you feeling this morning? It's the motivator. This is where we translate our words to action, and where success is ours, is yours for the taking. How you feeling, people? How you feeling? This is a area of positivity, where action, that's where words meet action. Yes. Oh yeah, oh I'm feeling so good. It has been a tremendous few days, truly tremendous. I've encountered, I've met, I've had the pleasure to speak with and be in the company of such tremendous human beings. Oh yeah, oh yeah. It makes life worth living, that's for sure. And I hope you're feeling well, feeling positive, feeling strong. And if you're not, I'm assuring you, this podcast will make a difference. It'll be your tonic. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. It's the motivator here. Yes, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling alive. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I've received hundreds, hundreds of messages from you thanking me for the last podcast. Okay. And that last podcast was a real testament to the strength of the African woman. I want to give praise and respect, of course, to Queen Narcissus, mhm, a most remarkable human being. Her Royal Highness, yeah, what she displayed was that acute intelligence that is typically found in African women, okay? That boundless empathy and love absolutely found in African women. Those visionary thoughts of betterment for the family, for women, for us all, that we can but hear and take on board, incorporate as part of our consciousness, so it will happen. Let those thoughts, let that vision remain strong as ever. I want to thank Her Majesty for gracing us with her presence last podcast. You truly made a profound difference in hundreds of people's lives. Thank you for all the work that you're involved in. And all those who are interconnected with Her Majesty, continue to support her. Indeed, continue to support yourself. The work is important. Thank you again. Thank you again, Her Majesty. Thank you again. Tremendous, absolutely tremendous, tremendous. And to be in the company of such human beings, yes, I've got to hold my heart now. Oh, oh yeah. You know why the human species exists when human species can, from its womb, yield such people as that. Well done. It's always the women I find on this podcast who I find the most impressive. Not to suggest for a moment that the men are not impressive, mind you. Don't misunderstand. I have to say, my gosh, remarkable women. All the women I've had on here have been remarkable human beings. Maybe just, I don't know, it's just the way it is, you know? It's just typical, huh? It's just typical. Nevertheless, there is real work that needs to happen. It requires our commitment, your commitment. That work is not about, you know, giving charity. It's about improving ourselves, yourself, equally, equal responsibility. As King Kabbalah would say, of the African Continental Unity Party, remember, we're all change makers. What the capitalists and others need to convince you is that you're not, you're nothing. that you don't have power, that you're diminished, you're little, you're insignificant. That's what their aim is. But of course, it's a lie. I say again, that is a lie. You have power. You have the power. It is your power that they use, they become your surrogate, as it were. Use your power against your best interest. And what by that I mean, of course, to convince you that you can't come together in unity. Say, in unity is strength. Yeah? If you're Yoruba or Igbo, Hausa or Ga, yeah? If you are Zulu or Xhosa, you can't come together. That's what they've got to convince you. But we know in our hearts of hearts, in our bones, in our very genetic material, that is a lie. We understand the term in unity is strength. Mhm. It's a tough message, I know, for some who wish to propagate other people's prejudices, biases. It is a tough message. But you have it within your capability to transform, make these words in unity is strength, manifest. Once manifested, we are unstoppable. We are unstoppable. Be assured, we are unstoppable. Yes, yes. Oh yeah. Oh my God, that was so fired up. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. That is the words of the motivator. Mm. But of course, in moving forward, there are campaigns that we must get involved in. Mm. You are the change makers. So the change makers are naturally involved. No matter what's your education, no matter what your social status, no matter how much money you don't have, no matter your religious affiliation, we can together transform the world. But it starts with you. It does start with you. I want to give a big shout out to another woman, Kelly. Mhm. On that podcast, only two moons ago, which we focused on, do black women, African women indeed, hate their hair? The result of that podcast was a resounding that they love their hair. She said it, but we just got to care for our hair. Give it the nurturing it requires, and it would take care of yourself. Mhm. But as a follow up to that podcast, and again, I'm heartened by the responses. It was clear that we touched a nerve, a fundamental issue of identity amongst African people worldwide, and most certainly in the diaspora, but increasingly on the continent. The power of hair. Only Africans have that particular style of hair. We're unique in that regard. Oh, of course. Our cousins, of course, in Australasia would, of course, contend. Of course, I understand. But we're relatively unique. And of course, the policies of hair is to undermine the air's very integrity. You see so many women who's damaged their heads, their hair, and receding airlines. Yeah, who've taken these air potions, I'm going to call them, who are natural endocrine disruptors, therefore affecting their bodily function, both reproduction, yeah, and other functions. It is a serious matter, and it's an issue that we must take on for all of our sakes, most certainly, not just for women, for all of our sake. So that end, again, Kelly, and thank you for being an outstanding presenter on that evening, or that podcast. We have agreed that there will be a call to action to address the issue of African hair and its recognition here in Britain. It is important. It is not one we can shy away from. It is one that we must take on head on. It's a fundamental issue. It is not a light issue. And with that in mind, we've organized a meeting. Okay. Kelly will, of course, be leading that meeting, of course. We here in the Motivated Show will be very much in the vanguard, in the support of such a meeting. And its three main objectives will be, first of all, to persuade the campaign, to persuade the legislators, the parliamentarians, the MPs, to regulate hair industry as a specific industry, mhm, so that we can professionalize hairdressers and barbers, so they go through a qualification and are qualified to treat and dress our hair. Secondly, to raise the awareness amongst African peoples who've lost that knowledge how to care for one's own hair. You know, a profound statement to make, isn't it? Truly profound statement to make. But when you go through this level of disruption, this is part of the effect. But we are the curative actions. This is a curative action to spread the knowledge. So women, particularly those women who have that knowledge, we wish to encourage you to come along to this call to action meeting. And then lastly, of course, very important, we want to stimulate amongst African peoples the production of ethically and empathetic, he says, products that do not damage our hair. Women need it. Oh my gosh. The bulk of these, most of these products seem to have long-term negative impacts. If I've got that wrong, I encourage companies and others to put, I'd like to be put right. But all the indications are that they are indeed harmful. Mhm. Even the wearing of those wigs and those piece of weave and so on, which are either made from dead animals or from dead peoples. Can you imagine? We need and we will do better. We need and we will do better. I'm emphasizing those words because they are profound. So those of you who are in Britain, who wish to come into Britain and join this all-important meeting, I'll put it on the screen now. There you go. It's the Inspired African Hair campaign. It's now scheduled for Saturday, the 18th of October from 2 to 4 p.m. The venue will be number 1, Bodley Way, Bodley Way, in Elephant Castle in London. Postcode S for sugar, E17 1FN for Nigeria. Okay? So we say again, recognition, professionalization, and our air care are the three themes of that meeting. Okay? And if you are able to attend, useful, find those would be useful, send a message here to the Motivator Show. Email address, the Motivator Show 501 at gmail.com. I repeat, email address, the Motivator Show 501 at gmail.com. A vitally important step forward for purpose of these podcasts is that these social issues are raised and addressed. This is not a talking shop. This is a place for action. And every little Every mark could make a difference. In other words, every little contribution makes a difference. We've invited a number of some high-powered individuals here in the UK to come along to this conference because together we will make the difference. In unity is strength. Yes, in unity is strength. Okay, they are. So those are just a few of the social campaigns that are being promoted by the Motivator Show. And we're not simply a show, obviously. We are a social movement, a movement for change, a movement for improvement, not just for people of African heritage, I might add, for all human beings. So we're all equal under the the eyes of the Creator. Indeed, we're all equal. And in doing so, we respect each other. And through respect comes friendship and trust. Simple, huh? It's quite simple. There are many who do not like this talk. They believe it's antithesis of their power system to control the minds of the masses. I get it. It is just what it is. But you know the difference. You know why it's important. And you've got to maintain your own sense of self. You apply your own common sense. Apply what is clearly in your interest. Praise be. Praise be. And the last announcement I wish to make whilst I'm here, I'll then move on to the lifestyle messages. And in approximately 20 minutes' time, we're going to have an interview live from Kampala, Uganda, addressing a most important issue. An issue you all will recognize. That's, of course, you choose a healthy lifestyle. And we will combat, therefore, the scourge of diabetes, hypertension, high blood pressure, fatness, obesity, yeah, cancers, and respiratory conditions. Yeah? We will address these issues head on because within our ability to do so. Remember, in unity is strength. You are never alone. I say again, you are never alone. We are not alone. Oh yeah, oh yeah. My last announcement, I will just put it up on the screen. It's a very important one. And those of us here of the diaspora, okay, the historic diaspora, uh, my family, up until this generation, had been away from the thought of humanity for 9 generations. Yeah, 9 generations. Can you imagine? 9 generations. But of course, that's the past. The future is what we make of it. There are many efforts underway to encourage a Pan-African thought process, that is, African unity thought process. All peoples will understand that. Okay? And many issues are still to be discussed. Of course, in each of my podcasts, I want to give a big thumbs up to President Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso. Yes, we'll be going to Burkina Faso. His presidency has been a watershed, a marking and change in direction for the African continent. He's displaying what good governance looks like under a truly independent thought process and thought actions. And what he displays is that vigor of youth, the intelligent, the acute intelligence, determination, and love for oneself, and never be subjected to subjugation, humiliation again. You want to trade with us? We trade. We trade as equals, not as subjugated others. Never again. Never again. Thank you, Excellency, Captain President Ibrahim Traore. of Burkina Faso, the land of the upright men. Oh yeah. Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh yes. My last announcement is this one. So those of us of the historic African diaspora, of course, we're asked to form ourselves under a single treaty. So we can have representatives within the AU. Okay. We put it on the screen. You recall my guest linker. Yeah? And he beautifully articulated why the Pan African Treaty of the Sixth Region of the African Diaspora is an important step forward so those of us of the traditional African diaspora can have a voice. I urge you to enjoy with this treaty, okay, to have a voice. It doesn't matter your national identities, whether you be British or Jamaican, American or Trinidadians, yeah? It does not matter. You simply need to be of the African diaspora and recognize yourself as such and not pretending under some other identity. And recognize for our children's sake, it's important for us as adults, as guardians, as parents, to take these steps forward so that the true identity can arise. So here's the treaty. To obtain a copy, which awaits your signature, here's the email address. The email address is Pan African Treaty, the African Diaspora, without the A at the end, at gmail.com. I repeat, the email address is the African Treaty. So I'll say again, Pan African Treaty, African Diaspora at gmail.com. To obtain a copy of the treaty for you to read and sign and return. There you go. An important step forward. And there are a number of other similar initiatives underway to bring the African diaspora, more than 250 million of us worldwide, yeah, under some common governance, common identity. It's a powerful step forward, truly powerful steps forward, overcome those identity deficiencies that many of the diaspora have suffered for too long, which has caused far too many mental, spiritual, and indeed physical anguish. Praise be, praise be. So those are the initial announcements I want to make, and you can appreciate this is the motivated show. So this is where we translate our words into action. And the success is ours for the taking. It's for the taking. Yes, it's for the taking. Praise be, praise be, praise be. Now, lifestyle messages. It's important. We started the lifestyle messages here on the Motivator Show in response to what is a clear and present danger: the declining health of far too many people, Africa's most certainly, but many people here in Britain and worldwide. There have been nearly 50, 60, 70, maybe 100 years of extended lifespans. But we've entered a period where that extended lifespan is stalling. And what is happening is that increasing numbers of people are being weighed down by illnesses, usually avoidable illnesses if we're conscious of our lifestyle. These are important messages, okay? Not being said by just myself, but it's been said by the experts in the field who are observing our lifestyle, our behaviors. And even though education and knowledge has been well spread, the awareness of this knowledge is still, in some cases, either being ignored willfully or simply lacking. You can expect here at the Motivator Show for us to want to bridge that information gap to raise the consciousness of all peoples, to think about your health, your lifestyle, and how it impacts your health. And in doing so, we will transform the world. So this is the Motivator Show. So I want you to listen to the words of at least one of the experts, a public health expert, someone who's a specialist in the field, someone who knows better than I what our lifestyle should entail. Okay? So listen to this professor. Listen to what he says, not what I say. Listen to what he says. These are simple messages, common sense messages, common sense messages, but important messages. And if we can incorporate his messages into our daily lives, it would be, and most certainly will be, transformative. Listen keenly.
Professor Kevin Fenton says, I'm a public health director. Here are 5 things you can do to improve your health. 1. Mindful and balanced eating. Nourish wisely. Eat whole, balanced meals with awareness to support energy and well-being. 2. Get outside. Be with nature. Time outside reduces stress, improves mood, and strengthens your connection to the world. 3. Stay curious, stay engaged, explore new interests, keep your mind sharp, build social contacts, and boost your happiness. 4. Get active, move it or lose it. Move daily, lift weight, and do cardio. Exercise, improve physical, mental, mood, and energy. 5. Prioritize rest and sleep. Disconnect. Rest. Quality sleep supports mental clarity, emotional balance, and overall health.
Can I argue with that common sense message from Professor Kevin Fenton, the Public Health Director for London? Mhm. Can I argue with that? Common sense advice. And if we all followed that advice, we most certainly would go some way to mitigating the onset of diseases and conditions that can wear you down for the rest of your lives. Thinking about our lifestyles, okay, particularly here in the so-called Western world, as it were, and often far too many people are exercising. Yeah, often far too many people are weighed down by their mental health. Often far too many people are being weighed down by poor spiritual health. And as a consequence, there's a direct impact on their general health and well-being. And it's clearly obvious here in the African community, black community if you like, whatever descriptor you wish to apply, and indeed to many communities, ethnic communities across the world, there's clear evidence that health is actually declining. So this is a fight back. So this is the Motivated Show. This is the fight back to raise awareness, to raise a concern, to encourage positive action from you the people. We have a collective responsibility to support the people. You the people, we the people. And in doing so, to take care of ourselves and our neighbors, we yield from friendship, respect, honesty, and a desire to collaborate on other matters that affect the human condition. Powerful, huh? Simple messages, simple actions. So what I'm heartened by is the numbers of you who've heard these messages and have responded. Some of you have decided to individually engage in what do you say, individual actions. That is, of course, just to follow through by yourselves and exercise by yourself. That's fine. That's fine. If that's how you wish to do it. Others, of course, have come together in common aim and common purpose. Understanding, working together, being with your neighbors, pooling your resources. That way, exercise together is far more fulfilling, sustainable, and of course, it breeds, of course, promotes community cohesion, community unity. Is that not the right action? Regardless of ethnicity, regardless of your color, regardless of your religious affiliation, yeah, your social standing, your education to come together in common aim and common purpose. Is that not a great action? So what I'm heartened by the number of you who've heard these messages have come together in common aim and common purpose and recognize when we say in unity, strengths. It is not simply idle work, but these are actions of true civilized human beings who collaborate together, yep, work to our individual strengths and cumulatively, putting those strengths together, we become greater than our individual parts. Yeah, simple actions. So I want to show you an example of a group of people come together in common aim and common purpose to exercise together, pool their resources, and have come together in common aim and common purpose. And some are big and some are small. All sorts, even their children are present. That's what we want to achieve here on the motivator show. Let me put it on the screen for you. Watch this one. A group of people come together. Yeah. Oh, it's going to be fantastic. Watch this, people. Watch this. Oh, yeah. You can see them. That's it. See them? They've come together, common aim and common purpose to exercise together. Not just talk about it, but come together. See them. Some are big, some are small. Yes. Come on now. I do not just sitting down now. Come on. I know you're in your chair, but get up. Just bend your knees. Come on. Come on. Yes, we can sing it. It doesn't matter. We appreciate you. Come on now. Stretch those arms. That's it. Stretch your arms. That's it. That's right. That's it. We're all taking care of each other now. We're working together, collaborating in unity, in strength. Sit there, stretching your arms. That's right. Yes. I see you. I feel you. Well done. Keep it up. Keep it up. That's right. You've got it. Come on now. Come on. Get off those chairs. That's it. Just raise your knees. That's right. Only for a few minutes. What? Maybe 30 seconds. Come on. You can join us. That's right. But once you've done this, once you've done this 2 minutes of exercise, then you're ready to receive the information that's coming. The lifestyle messages. We need to choose a healthy lifestyle. We're interviewing a great person. You watch. I'm not going to reveal the name now. That's it. There you go. There you go. That's it. Come on now. Oh, I can see you doing it. That's right. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Yes. That's right. You're not sitting down. Did you get sit down? Get up again. Come on. Join us. It's only for 30 seconds now. Come on. That's right. We mean business. We mean business. It's the Motivator Show. This is where we translate our words into action, and the success is overtaking. There you are. Raise your arms. That's right. Raise your arms. Next them. Whoa, that's right. There you go. That's it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. You're doing it right. Right. Oh yes. There you go. Excellent. Pull the resources to do this. Understanding working together is the only sustainable way to maintain our health and well-being. It's fast, but hey, the masses will pass you because we're all supporting each other. That's how civilizations grow. Mutual collaboration. There you are. Look, even the children are there. You see those children? They brought their children. That's it. Inculcating their minds. Adults collaborating, they take that habit into their adulthood. Oh yeah. Yeah. Huh? That was brilliant, wasn't it? These are people come together in common aim and common purpose, understanding, working together. We can all transform our health prospects by working together, pulling the resources, obtaining the facilities so you can work together to improve your health. Whether to obtain facilities for exercise or to buy into clinical support for yourselves, it's easier if you do it over 10 people than one person buying that clinician's time and professionalism. Isn't it? Mutual collaboration, mutual interest. And that's what makes this such a powerful testament. Understanding how to collaborate. Okay? That exact example I've given you, they call themselves Countdown, or just people come together here in South London, where I'm based, in common aim and common purpose. I've got no problem. Those of you who want to reach out, want to join them, I'm going to give you their details. Why not? I can give you their details. Those who want to join them, yeah, why not? There, we can put it on the screen. There you are. They meet every Monday and Wednesday between 6:30 and 8 p.m. Okay, and they're based at 12 Tatum Street, Tatum Street, here in London, and postcode S for sugar E17 1TN. There you go. Or you can send them an email to make the arrangement with them. It's countdown0405@gmail.com. Okay, and you can reach out and you can speak to them directly. If you're in the UK, it's 07960 803 588. I commend the work of Countdown and the members of Countdown that have come together in common aim and common purpose, pooled their resources, obtained the facilities, and they now exercise regularly and defending themselves against diabetes, hypertension, and obesity to stay the three top, and there are many more conditions that they're defending themselves against. Not only is it, of course, they're concerned with their physical exercise, of course, they're concerned about what they put into their mouth. And on that theme, the theme of the interview that will begin in 3 minutes' time is most certainly pertinent here. Because often, often, it is said we could do little about these events. Yeah? That's what the capitalists, yeah, or the extreme right wingers want you to believe. They want you to believe. They want you to believe that you are nothing. You are powerless. You can do nothing about it. And they're all powerful. Complete, good beans, yeah. Yeah, I said it, yeah. Big beans, yeah. Oh, dear. Yeah, nonsense. And we will not tolerate such nonsense. Peoples, regardless of ethnicity, must work together in common aim, common purpose, so we can improve the human condition. And what follows in this interview does not simply apply to people of African heritage. I'm going to say it again. Blah, blah, blah. It does not simply apply to people of African heritage. It applies to all ethnicities. We're but one human race. Many ethnicities, in other words, people, different family groups from different parts of the world. Yeah. We're one human race. As a consequence, the advice provided, it's relevant to all. And this will be a series of podcasts that we will have on this subject for obvious reasons. It's of strategic and clearly public interest that we pursue these subjects because it's of real concern to us all. The declining health of all ethnicities, and most certainly people of African heritage, particularly here in the West. In the Caribbean, let me tell you, there's an epidemic of diabetes that is not being discussed and wasn't really discussed even in the most recent Jamaican elections. The epidemic of diabetes. Epidemic. In the United States. Yeah? Epidemic of obesity, diabetes, and high blood pressure. Epidemic is not being discussed. We're not afraid to discuss these subjects here on the Motivator Show. Give publicity around it so that we are armed to take actions. And together we will make the difference. In unity is strength. I pause there 'cause I want the information to sink. I want you to absorb it, to understand it. And if in doubt, ask questions. Ask questions of me or indeed health professionals or those around you, those you trust. Ask questions. Because the moment you start to ask questions, I'm assuring you, you move the dial. Just at asking of questions, you move the dial. And you continue to ask questions, the dial moves even further. Because you are the change makers. Mhm. You are the change makers. We are the change makers. We are responsible parties, the responsible persons. Yeah? Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm now going to move to the interview. Really important interview. Part of a series. But this interview will be fundamental, hard-hitting, every information packed. So if you haven't got a pen and paper, pencil, or a computer handy to make notes, I urge you to do so. I urge you to do so. Get ready for the information that will be presented. And I've got to say this to you. If you miss it, remember, this is a recording. Okay? Therefore, I urge you to replay the recording and pick up on the information provided. Okay? Because once you have that information, you are empowered. You are empowered. And an empowered human being are a formidable creature. Huh? You are a formidable creature once you're empowered. And that's what others don't want you to believe. So get ready. I'm going to play a little bit of the intro video just to set up the interview. Then go right into the interview. So just bear with me. Go to the intro. Give you 2 minutes, and the interview will begin. There we go. Go back to it. We're almost there, ready for you. There we go. Okay, we're now going to go into the interview. Yeah, it's now recording. That's fine. Okay, don't worry, I can edit this as much as I like tonight. So it's good to see you, and you're looking so young. Uh-huh.
Oh, you're so kind, sir. You are so kind.
It's those African
You're
genes.
looking good as well.
Oh,
You are the source of what they call African nutrition.
hey, yeah. Well, that is going to be the topic for today's discussion. That's for sure. That's for sure. Uh, but we've got maybe
Yes,
what 50 minutes or so with you,
fantastic.
50, 60 minutes. So let's see what we can get into this interesting dialogue. And this will be the beginning of a series of discussions with yourself to discuss nutrition, health,
Absolutely.
and well-being. Okay? Yeah. Okay. Good. Now, I
Great.
know you, but I want you please just to say who you are and the organization that you represent. And I'm also going to ask you, please, to share with the listeners, who are many of them are diasporan Africans who've been away from the motherland, not for one generation, but for numerous generations, and want to
Yes.
appreciate the meaning of your name. Okay? So would you introduce yourself, say your
Okay.
name, organization, and the meaning of your name, please, for the audience.
My name is Stephen Tamale Sali. My African name is Tamale, meaning that you won't finish. And in our
Ooh.
the language Luganda, I'm from
Mm-hmm.
Uganda, which is here the source of the Nile, which has the
Mm-hmm.
largest lake in Africa, called
Mm-hmm.
Lake Victoria. The original name for that lake is Lake Nile Valley, which means the lake of the gods. We're here at the Rift Valley, right at the heart of the motherland, sometimes also
Yes.
referred to as the mountains of the moon. So this is
Yes.
where the source of life began, right here in the heart of the Central African aspect of the Rift Valley. So yes, my name is Stephen Sally Tamale, and really I am a holistic health therapist. I work with energy, frequency, and vibration. I do what we call analysis of the human body in using energy, looking at root causes, and also I am also the CEO of Meridian Wellness Solutions,
Mm-hmm.
an organization that was set up by Professor Charles Sally in the form of
Oh.
Mariner Research Foundation.
Okay, now you've given away too much too soon. Okay, let me get there. Let me get there. So you've given us
Okay.
your name, the organization, and the meaning of your name, Tamale, which is really interesting. Okay. And did you say that you're from Uganda and you of the Buganda Kingdom? Is that right?
My name is Stephen Tamale Sali. My African name is Tamale, meaning that you won't finish. And in our
Ooh.
the language Luganda, I'm from
Mm-hmm.
Uganda, which is here the source of the Nile, which has the
Mm-hmm.
largest lake in Africa, called
Mm-hmm.
Lake Victoria. The original name for that lake is Lake Nile Valley, which means the lake of the gods. We're here at the Rift Valley, right at the heart of the motherland, sometimes also
Yes.
referred to as the mountains of the moon. So this is
Yes.
where the source of life began, right here in the heart of the Central African aspect of the Rift Valley. So yes, my name is Stephen Sally Tamale, and really I am a holistic health therapist. I work with energy, frequency, and vibration. I do what we call analysis of the human body in using energy, looking at root causes, and also I am also the CEO of Meridian Wellness Solutions,
Mm-hmm.
an organization that was set up by Professor Charles Sally in the form of
Oh.
Meridian Research Foundation.
Okay, now you've given away too much too soon. Okay, let me get there. Let me get there. So you've given us
Okay.
your name, the organization, and the meaning of your name, Tamale, which is really interesting. Okay, and did you say that you're from Uganda and you of the Buganda Kingdom? Is that right?
Correct. There are over 50 tribes in Uganda, approximately 53
Mm-hmm.
tribes in Uganda alone.
Mm-hmm.
They all have their own sort of dialect and language, but the main language spoken across Uganda is
Mm-hmm.
Luganda. Okay, so Luganda is the biggest kingdom, the biggest tribe is the Baganda tribe, with which I'm from, and this tribe is based here in the central part of Uganda. It is where the king of Uganda, called the Kabaka Mutebi, stems from. He is the leader of the Baganda, and literally, yes, that's where we are. And also we have what we call our president, who is the president of the country at the moment, which is President Yoweri Museveni.
Okay, now that's a lot in there, and just for the benefit of my diasporan audience, okay, there's a lot in there. So you're from Uganda and of the Buganda people, okay, one of 50 tribes in the country, okay, that's understood. You're from the Rift Valley. We recognize that to be the cradle of mankind. I am so envious of you. That's where you are now. Can you imagine the origins of the
Yeah,
Homo sapiens? That's where you are, you know? So, wow.
absolutely. That is where they
Wow.
say life began. In fact, some of the oldest bones were found in the Rift Valley. I think the people who were researching
Yes.
called them Lucy. So that's the
Uh-huh.
name they
Yes.
gave them, those who are literally
Yes.
researching on the old bones. But we all know that the history of the African continent goes back thousands and thousands of
Yes.
years, from the
Absolutely.
great kingdoms of ancient Egypt, Timbuktu, as well as also the Ashanti Kingdom, the Buganda
Yes.
Kingdom,
Yes.
the kingdoms of what we call the Zimbabwe, the Great Zimbabwe, and
Yes.
also the kingdoms of what we call the Southern Kingdom, so the Zulu Kingdom. So there's so many established kingdoms over the plains of Africa, and I
Yes.
want to give thanks to the Most High Creator, who has blessed us with life on the African continent and given us the strength to carry on in this vision of what we
Hmm.
call the awakened African continent.
I know this, you've got to smile at me when I say this to you, but to hear an African man in the Rift Valley, at the origins and the birthplace of human beings, all human beings on the planet, speak with such confidence, with such vigor, it makes my heart, I tell you, it is beating with a rapidity that I cannot describe to you right now. This is outstanding. And for the young people listening, yes, this is the
Yes,
origin
yes,
of humankind. Wow,
yes.
that's something else.
I think what is so important, Councillor
Mhm.
Martin, is that we are on a journey of awakening on the continent, and we
Yes,
have been what we call a sleeping giant. Some people refer to
indeed.
Africa as the dark continent. The
Yes,
people sometimes refer to us, but we know that Azania is one of the original names of the continent,
that's
and
right.
we know that as a people, we have a diversity as well as a richness of culture embedded in
Yes,
our motherland. So we
yes,
are now seeing the ascent, the resurrection, and what we call the emancipation of our people. They're coming alive as
absolutely.
we move into what they call the height of the 21st century. Today, we have the youngest population in the whole world right
Yes,
here
yes,
on the motherland.
in,
And so they're saying the average age is about 35 years here. So
yes,
in
yes.
the whole Africa. So we're seeing that a lot of what we're seeing is people really realizing their potential, realizing that there is so much in terms of innovation and creativity that is taking place here on the motherland. And we're
Thank
seeing
you.
that.
Thank you. Yes, yes. Now that is it. Because you're gonna answer all my questions in advance. I'm gonna slow you down a bit. There you are. Wow. And what is being said is not simply idle chatter, just for the benefit of the audience. These are facts, verified again and again by the United Nations and all the other international agencies that are looking at Africa and assessing its potential. Okay. And the greatest potential are not in the ground, in which we've got incredible wealth. It's in the people. And I say to my audience, you're looking at that potential. Look at him. That's vigor. Yeah, that's vigor of a human being. It is something else, isn't it? It is something else.
Yes,
I want to take you now, if I
thank
may,
you.
Tamar. I want to take you on this journey of ours. We want to not only look at Africa, we want to look at Africa from a number of angles. And the first angle I want to look at, first of all, so that we can get to a point where we look and assess both the healing and food therapy practices that have evolved over thousands of years. I want to first of all address the question of civilization. Why it is that civilization appeared first in Africa? Okay, so we've already described you as being in that Rift Valley, the cradle of humankind, mankind, humankind. Okay. So, of course, civilization are typically characterized, and this is not exhaustive, this is where you have urban centers, large villages or cities, okay, where you've organized into government and institutions, and you have laws and means to institute justice. You have a means for taxation, or at least a means of resourcing that your civilization. Civilization typically has formal writing and record keeping, another characteristic of civilizations. And of course, at their center, typically will have a religion or other belief systems around which the people will rally. Um, Civilization also include monumental architectures and styles of artistry. But most importantly, civilizations are characterized by the way in which they organize people. They organize the means by which they harness the wealth of the people and the land. And indeed, most critically, and we'll get to later on in this interview, how we heal people when they are suffering from ailments. Now, so that's not exhaustive, but a broad characterization of civilization. Let's a little bit about the Ugandan people and their history. Okay, what makes them a notable people?
That's a very good question. The when how can I put it? First of all, I want to give thanks for the heritage and the
Yes,
legacy of our beloved ancestors.
yes,
They are the ones who have put together what we call the foundation upon which we are here today as people of African origin, whether you're from the
absolutely.
diaspora or whether you're on the continent. We want to remember that even the very first human being came right here from the Rift Valley. So it means that the whole
Yes.
planet is African. And it means that
Yes.
whether people want to acknowledge that or not, that is the source of humanity. Came
Yes.
right here from the motherland. Now, when you come to the Buganda tribe, the Buganda tribe is one of over 50 tribes here in the Ugandan region here. You got the country called Uganda. And we also want to remind ourselves that when call them the colonies or the Europeans first came to this part of the world, they found a society, a culture so well organized, so
Yes.
well adapted to the fact that it was such ahead of its time of what they were finding in other parts of Africa that they called and gave it a protectorate name. And they did not actually dismantle the kingdom like they did many other kingdoms. They actually called it a protectorate. So at that time, Uganda was being formed as a country, but they found Buganda very well organized with customs. They had different rituals in place that they
Yes.
actually had. The king of Buganda had really created customs and systems that they marveled at, and they wondered how this tribe could have organized itself to this level, and yet there were people who were actually making clothings, people who were actually making different tools and different artifacts. They were very, very well organized and literally had things in a state of order. If you read of our culture is one of the richest cultures
Yes.
on the continent with such a great history. But at the same time, we realized, like I said, is that the king, who's called the King Mutebi, or Kabaka Mutebi, in our sort of cultural language, is literally the head of the Buganda kingdom. And his father, Mutesa, Kabaka Mutesa was his father. And but during the time when we were in that season of literally, you could say, colonization, there was a process where those who came to colonize the lands, they found what we call order, structure, and also writings that were in
Yes.
place by the Baganda people. And they also found that the systems that were put in place around regional mapping of the place was very much in a very high order. So they
Yes.
actually referred to Buganda Kingdom and kept it as a protectorate, but added other tribes to that Buganda Kingdom, which was the largest land around the Lake Victoria or Lake Nile Valley region. And then they formed the country called Uganda.
Yes.
Today, what we find is that a lot of what we call business or business movement around Uganda is all happening in the central region, the Buganda region. But at the same time, we have what they call some of the, you could call it the indigenous people who come from the region have really been at the height of really driving the country's future forward in terms of development, in terms of really understanding how to begin to navigate, and also studied a lot in bringing forward what we call innovation and also creativity to the greatest and highest potential.
So were the peoples at the time collaborating both in both raising cattle and growing staple foods? And was there in your awareness, a similarity in healing practices?
Thank you for that question. Here on the Buganda region, you find there's a rich culture of healing, traditional practice, raising cattle, raising poultry, and things of that nature. What you find is that many people are involved in what we call subsistence or farming for food.
Yes.
And you find that many people, they rely on the land to get nourishment from the land. So you find that they grow things like sweet potatoes, cassava, they grow something called sorghum, they grow a lot of millet, they also grow a lot of what we call, there's something called matoke, green bananas, that in fact, the staple food here in Uganda is that most people eat, especially in the Buganda region, is matoke. So you might have heard of the word matoke. That is equivalent to, they get the green banana and they mash it up. After cooking, they steam it, and they make a paste out of it, and they mash it up and they put it within banana leaves, and that offers a special flavor that actually is now enjoyed with sauces. We have granite sauces, bean sauces, people grow beans, soya sauces. So there's a variety of different rich legume sauces that they have on the motherland. Then they also have a variety of different greens that they grow. Some of them are called gobe. There's one called nakati. There's one called...
I was going to say that is without any chemicals in it. There's no chemicals. This is just organic food, huh? My gosh! No wonder you look so young.
A lot of the food
look at you! No wonder you look so young. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
Organically grown. But it's so interesting that many of our brothers and sisters here who are farming are creating food from a very rich soil. Remember, we are at the lake basin. So at the lake basin, there's a lot of silt that is under the ground that is surrounding the lake where they grow the food. And so we get a lot of richness that comes from the land straight into our systems. And the food chain is kept very clean and clear. As you know, with any modern society moving forward in the world that we live in, a lot of what we call the food, some agribusiness for who actually demand food for export, they've now introduced some pesticides and herbicides into the lands, forcing some of the indigenous practices to change a little bit along the way. And also, there's some people who brought what we call certain chemicals that have actually introduced certain pests, and they've destroyed a lot of the crop in the areas like Masaka, where they used to have a great banana crop growing there. So a lot of things sometimes, as I said, is the food chain is a little bit not like it was in the original space, but a lot of it is still organically grown from the potatoes, the cassava. The goodness that you find in the legumes is still very much available, and people also like taking a lot of ground foods. There's a variety of different yams that they grow as well as also other lots of different greens. So our beloved ancestors here managed to stipulate a lot of green nourishment into our diet. So they have a different variety of different greens that they have, again, also with a guide to having what they call a medicinal purpose to them.
Yes, yes. Well said, well said. And I can assure you, if we were all able to eat like that, we will have far fewer illnesses affecting many of us Africans of the diaspora than is currently befalling us. Our lifestyle and most certainly what we are eating, I can see so many of our people who are suffering unnecessarily because of really down to what it is they're eating and their general lifestyle, and which I want to come to very soon. And what you're describing, of course, my mouth watered as you described that beautiful food. I'm reminded of my parents in Jamaica as they would cook their food exactly the same way. Exactly the same way. Oh my dear, green banana. Oh my dear, I'm not eating green banana for a whole month, so I need to eat some green banana. So hey, people, yes, I need to get my green banana, mash it up. Yes. Oh my God, Lord, there's so much I can do with it now. My dear. But anyway, the iron is full of important vitamins, and iron is what my mother would say. Got to eat your green bananas. But let me come back to that. I want to come back to that. But what we're now on is that journey of understanding. So we have essentially societies which are based around agriculture and of course cattle. Agriculture being an important aspect of the culture's evolution, but also our food is our medicine. Okay. And I believe this is an important junction point for us now to venture into, because the history of the continent, most certainly the history of the civilization in and around the Rift Valley, the cradle of mankind, is a long, illustrious history spanning thousands of years. Okay? And as you say, the earliest known human remains are found there in the Rift Valley, which are supposedly going back millions of years. So it is only natural that the peoples there would have built up a significant, an enormous encyclopedia of food and their benefits to us. It is to be expected, okay? Even despite the disruption caused by recent invasions by people from Eurasia and other parts, okay? And I want to, if I may, move slowly into that aspect, that part of this interview, okay? Now, use the term, our food is our medicine, okay? I know I've not prepped you for this question, but at which point do you think that it was recognized our food is our medicine? Some foods are particularly good for us and others not so good. What point, what do you think was the crystallization of this being a fact? I know it's a difficult question for you. But,
I think if we have to... No, what is most important for us is to give thanks to, first of all, the great Imhotep. I think that word was coined then, where he said, our food is our medicine and our medicine is our food. Today, we have seen that our medicine is become
forgive me to interrupt you,
Imhotep is a great pyramid builder. He lived in ancient Egypt. He was known as the father of medicine, and he is one of the people who pioneered that thought pattern of our food being our medicine and our medicine being our food. And this pause there, please, essence has been carried.
Sorry, Stephen, forgive me for interrupting you again, and I know I'm interrupting you a lot. You see, you're making such profound statements, but you say it in a matter-of-fact manner. Say again, because there are many of our children and our grandchildren who will watch this podcast, who will watch this video, to hear the words of a man from the Rift Valley, the origins of humankind. You said Imhotep is who? What's his significance to medicine? Say it again, please. You've got to say it with the reverence it absolutely deserves, please. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Let's give Imhotep, first of all the accolade of being a pioneer in this field of healing, research. He was one of the first doctors of ancient Egypt. He is the one who was also a pyramid builder. He was a great author, writer, and also was carrying on medical practices back in ancient Egypt. One of the leading, or one of the first pioneers of literally the field of medicine began in ancient Egypt.
Say it again, loud. Say it loud, because that was before Greek. That was before Greece. Yes, say it loud.
Imhotep is really just that. The word Hotep means peace, and you can say I am is Imhotep. I am peace. So he was a progenitor of the word Hotep. Came from his name Imhotep. So we also want to give thanks to the fact that he was the first man to coin the word, let your food be your medicine, and your medicine be your food. All over the African continent, they have taken that essence of what he shared very much in the early days of ancient Egypt and have made it their staple. What do I mean by that? It has become a lifestyle. People are no longer eating just for the sake of eating. They're eating to heal. They're eating for wellness. They're eating for well-being. They're eating to manage and also create wellness within themselves. They know that the body is an instrument that is constantly changing, that we as spirits, having a human experience, rely on this physical body to function in this physical plane on the continent. So Imhotep saying that your food is your medicine and your medicine is your food, realize that healing is something that every aspect of our being is doing every minute of the day. So he realized that if we could put together a range of foods that we could call foods that heal us on the go, we can begin to really engender what I would call the capacity of our bodies to really fully experience what I would call the wholeness and the harmony and the wellness that is in every breath we take in every movement we make on the planet, in every sound, every sight. So we begin to look at it as a lifestyle, a way of being. We began to understand that life itself was just connected to the nature, and nature was connected to life, and life is where we came from. This is the essence of the one continuum, or the oneness of life. And this is where we really begin to give reverence to that great researcher and the father of medicine called Imhotep.
Imhotep. Thank you. Thank you. Well said. Before the Greeks. You know, that's important to keep emphasizing.
And when we look at it, they say Hippocrates, they say Hippocrates, the Hippocratic Oath. But that is only something Hippocrates took from that ancient great pyramid builder called Imhotep, because he was the one who began authoring that essence of food. I mean, in the medical practices, at first do no harm, but you see, today that is not the case. And we know that a lot of people are going through something called iatrogenics, which again has been termed as death by doctoring, meaning that a lot of people who are given a lot of medical procedures and medical issues have challenged, their system is challenged because of the fact that the nutritional aspect is not considered in some of these decisions or never looked at. So we have to go back to do a Sankofa to look at what we call the best of ancient wisdom around wellness and realize the power of the ancient ones in terms of how they understood the power of healing, but also brought to the forefront the essence of what we can do in terms of healing ourselves. That's why the great ancestors said to us, let your food be your medicine, and your medicine be your food. They also said to us, know thyself. Okay, that was the great old adage. They said to us, knowing ourselves, we understood the power of food, the healing power of nutrition, the healing power of wellness, but also understood that we as human beings literally were living off the land. And now we are in supermarkets. Now we are in a state where we have to grow our food, or sometimes in hydroponic areas, or sometimes grow our food in greenhouses. But we're also now moving to a state where realizing that whenever we disconnect, whenever we have what they call processed or what they call foods that have been highly refined, we change the nature of the food by microwaving it. We change the nature of the food by radiating it with radiation. We change the nature of the food by creating what we call a disconnect, by creating seedless oranges, seedless grapes, seedless lemons, seedless tangerines, seedless bananas. Even the banana had a little black seed inside of it. But today, a lot of food has become denatured because we have become disconnected. It has been hybridized all the way so that now they're taking genes from the tomato, putting in the millet, taking genes from the millet, putting it into other areas.
So hold on, Stephen. I don't want to give too much away now. You're getting in the role now. You've made it too quick for me. So I want to slow you down. I want to slow you down. We want to take the audience with us. We're taking the audience on a journey with us. Okay. So we've now established the important role that teff has played in Western, indeed global medicine. Okay. So that genius lives on with us and in medicine today. But to help our audience, what I want to do now is just move to look at the different plants, traditional plants, and there's a few of those which are typically identified with a specific ailment that it is said, because of its active ingredients, can either mitigate or significantly reduce its impact on the bodies. Okay, now I just want to name a few, and you tell me what you think about some of these plants. Because I think this is an interesting area, because in order for the audience to fully appreciate what we're describing, what they lack, of course, is the knowledge of what are these plants, why are they so potent. Okay, so let's just think about a condition which is typical here in the West that I come across so often, and that's diabetes. Okay. Now, in your knowledge, which of the various plants would be good to address diabetes as a not as a curative, but to mitigate the impact of diabetes? And I say that advisedly, just so we're all clear. We're not making health claims. What we're citing is what traditionally has been used to address specific conditions that affect the human physiology. Okay, so let's take diabetes as a starting point. Which are the typical plants are said to be good to mitigate the impact of diabetes on our bodies?
Something that I think can affect any human being, and it is a condition that is also linked to lifestyle. For many people, sometimes what happens is when we look at diabetes, they think it's about really just a condition that sprang from nowhere. Our body is naturally controlling and managing blood sugar all the time, naturally. Yes. What happens when our system actually is not able to do that, or becomes deficient in the sense of the nutrients that actually help the whole process of blood sugar management to become destabilized, if I could put it that way, then we move into a condition called diabetes. I mean, the word itself, diabetes, is it's I think a Greek word that means sugar flow, or flow of sugar, so or sweet urine. So whenever you have this condition, or you look at the what does the body need, because the body usually uses chromium to make insulin. Nobody in this whole world can make insulin without chromium. So you look at chromium-rich foods in our African diet, those would be sweet potato. Okay, in the sweet potato, which is the sweet potato, which has different varieties, has the highest form of chromium in the world, is found in the sweet potato. Again, chromium is essential for making insulin. In fact, you cannot make insulin without chromium. That is one of the main ingredients that it uses. At the same time, you also find that magnesium, again, these is another component that is required for preventing something that affects most people in type 2 diabetes, which comes in the form of what we call poor levels of magnesium. So when somebody has low levels of magnesium, which magnesium alone runs over 300 functions in the body. And you're finding that when somebody has low levels of magnesium, they move into what they call insulin resistance. Means that the glucose cannot leave the blood and go into the body, and they call it resistance, insulin resistance. So one starts to maintain high insulin levels in the body and high sugar levels, which cause damage to the extremities, like the eyes, the kidneys, the extremities, like the simple get gangrene, or the foot starts to rot. Again, you find that this is caused by low levels of magnesium. Now, you also have to look at foods that are rich in magnesium, and that's where I want to start, because medicine. Many will say, you know what? Many people around the world usually suffer from what they call insulin resistance because of the fact that they have poor insulin management, or poor blood sugar control, or what we call poor they have high insulin resistance. Now, this is familiar with people with type 2 diabetes. Now, when you look at nutritionally compounds, we talked about the chromium, which is mainly found in the sweet potato. We also have to look at what they call magnesium. Magnesium you find in green leafy vegetables. They are really you find that most of the compounds you find in, let's say, if you look at kale, or things like sukuma wiki, in Kenya they call it sukuma wiki, or they find it things like dodo in Uganda. You find that there are these a variety of different green vegetables rich in magnesium. We also find a lot of the nuts moving away from, as has been said, is that many people have moved into what they call management of diabetes, which again is a condition which is brought on by lifestyle, but can be corrected just by eating the right foods to help boost your chromium levels, to help boost your magnesium levels, and also to help really correct what we call the way your body manages blood sugar. Now, whenever you look at any situation with somebody who's got diabetes, as you mentioned, the condition, we also have to look at the fact that sometimes they've got a very sweet tooth. They're eating a lot of sweet foods that cause what they call these sugar spikes that spike and create what we call the body to overproduce insulin, or overstimulate the body to produce insulin. And this leads to what they call a condition where eventually their pancreas cannot produce enough insulin, and they become insulin deficient. So they end up needing insulin from outside of the body. That's why they have insulin injections. For some people, their pancreas has become damaged by the fact that they are now having a situation where their situation is the immune system is attacking the pancreas, and this can cause challenges around the body in terms of itself. So one of the things we have to look at here is understanding that the entire system is in a state where we have to remember that the Creator, when He made our bodies, He understood from the very word go that sugar was going to be in nature, and we didn't need to have an insulin injection or for the rest of their life, because the Creator got it wrong when He made our bodies. He didn't make it wrong to the fact that we now have to manage our bodies by actually being very much in a state of what they call fear of sugary foods, because because of the fact that sugar itself has been highly refined and processed to a level where we're now having these white crystals devoid of the molasses that come with the sugar. So that is where the body is now getting a product that is deficient of the minerals and vitamins that come along to help in metabolizing the food that we would normally ingest. So if you look back in our ancient world, we were not having lots of insulin injections. How were people surviving? We were not having metformin back in the day, but how were people managing? But there wasn't a diabetes epidemic in ancient Egypt. There wasn't a diabetes epidemic in the Zulu kingdom or in the Buganda kingdom. But because of modernization and modern lifestyle, I'm not against modernizing our world. I'm just stating a fact that we have moved away from what we call the natural setting. The Father, the Creator who made our physical bodies, gave us the pancreas. The pancreas is producing insulin to help us balance blood sugar level. But what we've done, we've moved into what they call a lifestyle or a diet plan or a way of eating or feeding ourselves that now makes our bodies develop a condition that we now call diabetes.
Well said. Well said, and thank you. That was very well articulated, and I know the majority of people can follow, and I may do some refinement later on. Can I just move you on to the other big condition that affects so many of our people, and that's high blood pressure or hypertension? Okay. What typically are the foods that, first of the causes, and typically the foods that might be used to mitigate the impact of high blood pressure on the human physiology?
Okay, I mean, what we're looking at here is, again, the fact that we go back to the great imitative, who said, let your food be your medicine.
Absolutely.
And today, our food is contributing to a lot of dis-ease. The body wants to be at ease. But what creates dis-ease inside our body, it starts from the fact that the body's capacity to process or to digest certain aspects of our food becomes diminished because of the fact that sometimes, in most cases, we are lacking the fiber. Whenever you lack fiber in your diet, you're contributing to heart disease in some form or fashion. Whenever you lack what we call selenium, and selenium is known as the #1 heart mineral. Why? Because studies were done on a group of people in Senegal, where they actually monitored this group of people in Senegal. They went to a village in Senegal, and virtually the people, nobody had heart disease. Even the children, they were not being born with a hole in the heart or congenital issues around the heart. Even the adults in their old age or middle age, they had no high blood pressure, no angina, no coronary heart bypasses, and things like that. They were very healthy. And the doctors were baffled. They went round to this village in Senegal and they studied, and they found that in the soil in Senegal has the highest form of selenium in their soil. And they went to another village in China, and this village in China had virtually no levels of selenium. And even children were being born with a hole in the heart. Many of the adults in that village had what we call, they had high blood pressure, angina, coronary heart disease, all kinds of challenges that come with cardiovascular challenges. But today, one of the things we need to look at is contributing factors. Cholesterol, high cholesterol being one of them. For many people, cholesterol is clogging up the arteries. Cholesterol itself is not a bad thing. It's something that our body produces. We need it, okay? We actually need it for formation of bones. We need it for helping the body to function well. The brain needs cholesterol. So we need cholesterol in many areas of our system. But what is happening is that we, again, because our diet originally was meant to have rich levels of vitamin E, but now you're saying vitamin E, you could look at it as a wheelbarrow that carries cholesterol around the body, if you put it that way. So whenever we have low levels of vitamin E, our body cannot move the cholesterol with the high density lipoprotein and the low density lipoprotein. It's called LDL cholesterol. Sometimes give the name bad cholesterol. Okay, this is the cholesterol that sticks around the body and sticks around the arteries and veins, clogging up the arteries and veins, leading to a narrowing of those arteries and the veins, constricting them, and sometimes even blocking them. And that can also, now the heart, as we know, is a pump. So it's supposed to pump blood around the body. But when it comes to, if you step on a pipe, the pressure of the water to go through the pipe, it has to be higher. So the pressure is raised because of a narrowing of the arteries or blocking of those arteries and veins. Today, what we find is that for many people, they've gone to a stage where they're eating a lot of what they call foods that are deficient in vitamin E. So we need to have the avocados. Here in Uganda and many parts of Africa, they eat a high level of avocado, which is rich in vitamin E. In Ghana, they have a very high level of vitamin E intake as supplementation, because they know that what it does for the cholesterol management. We're also seeing today a lot of oils, again, through to modernization, they've introduced what they call a lot of the vegetable oils, which are in the form of hydrogenated fats. It's sometimes called trans fats. And these are things that are also clogging up our arteries, leading to what we call clotting, and also challenges around blood circulation. Today, there's a compound called renin. When the kidneys are not working properly, there is a compound called renin, which also sends a message to raise the blood pressure. So blood pressure is something that our community in fact, we are leading in all these diseases. If you look at diabetes, high blood pressure, people of African origin tend to be higher in those. I always had to ask myself, why is it that we as a people of African origin have the highest levels of blood pressure, the highest levels of diabetes, highest levels of cancer? This is something that we've got to look into as a people. Why is it that people of either Asian origin or Caucasian origin, they are not as prevalently predisposed to getting the cancers, the high blood pressures, and the diabetic conditions that we face as a community? So it also comes down to the fact that we have moved away from our original diet, a diet that was rich in what they call ground foods, rich in green leafy vegetables, rich in what they call certain bitter foods, rich in fermented foods. We have moved into a diet which is based on white foods, white rice, white pasta, white foods that are literally void of very key minerals that enable us to be well.
Forgive me, Stephen. I want you to go back, which are good for us. You just started saying, but you said it so quickly. I would be sure that the audience absorbs what you're describing. The food which are good for us. What are the foods that are good for us? Say again, please.
I want to say that, in fact, when it comes to really good heart health, we want to really focus on the fact that our ancient ones ate a lot of berries, okay, like strawberries, raspberries, blueberries. Very important for the heart health. Brazil nuts are rich in selenium. That is how our forefathers were able to really maintain good health. That's why when the food is grown in a place that's going to go with high levels of selenium, they take in a lot of these Brazilian nuts, but also us in the general diaspora, we can focus on eating more Brazilian nuts rich in selenium. We can focus on taking in the green bananas that are very important in compounds. That enable to prevent heart disease. We can also increase our fiber intake because a lot of the conditions that cause or bring about heart disease are related to low fiber intake. Today we have things like avocado, rich in vitamin E. Your heart relies on vitamin E to repair itself, to bring about cell membrane, the cashew nuts, the pistachio nuts, the almonds. Almonds are very important for heart health. Very important for heart health.
Absolutely.
Even the fact that we need to really have a lot of what we call the nut oils and nut seed oils. They're very good, but not the ones that are actually put in the form of trans fats or hydrogenated fats. So we need to actually get the organic cold pressed and not to add heat to them, but just take a tablespoon and put them over the food in the different varieties. And that will help us to keep our season actually in a state of wholeness and harmony. Many times we also rely on the fact that our systems also are needing what we call good water intake. Many times dehydration is one of the issues that contributes to blood pressure raising. So if you're not hydrated well, if you're not taking in good hydration, sometimes, Martin, I said you got your water bottle, very important. Thank you for that.
Yes.
But it's also very important to remember that many people drink water, Councillor Martin, but they don't absorb the water they take in. So it's very important for us to add a little bit of sea salt. Has to be sea salt to our water to improve our water absorption. And you always know when you're having low levels of water absorption, when after drinking water, within 20 minutes or 30 minutes, you want to rush to the toilet. If you're drinking half a liter of water, it means that you're not absorbing water very well. So add a bit of sea salt so the water can stay in your body and help your body, because absorption is so key to us being on the planet. Many times of us eat very good food, very good nutrition, but we don't absorb it because of poor water absorption. And water is a carrier of many of the nutrients that go into our cells. So we need to have good hydration, good absorption, as well as good water intake. Those are three factors that are the foundation of wellness. Water intake.
Thank you so much. That was well said, and you said it at a pace that we could all keep up with you. So it was even better. Another question. It's another question. Though. The other big public health condition I encounter every day is obesity or fatness. Okay. Again, our food is our medicine. This does appear to be too much food at first glance, but our food is the medicine. What would your response be to that query? How is our food our medicine if fatness is actually caused by food? Over to you.
Okay, and I think one thing we've got to remember as we go forward in this area of is it obesity? Obesity is something that is one becomes overweight over a period of time, and it can actually cause illness. It can
Yes.
predispose our systems to not working properly. There's something called visceral fat. There's a fat that can actually be between our organs. There's fat that can actually be around our subcutaneous fat. So there's different forms of how our body stores fat. Sometimes, like I said earlier on, insulin is hormone that actually puts us in fat storage mode. So whenever we have poor insulin management, it actually makes us put on weight. Sometimes you find that for some people, the thyroid, which is in charge of metabolism, is underactive or causing a situation where we're not having good producing what they call a sense of good metabolism. So one now starts to put on weight. Instead of having a good rate of burning the food that they eat, they sort of underburn, and then the body has to put this excess energy as fat in the body. So that you have to check your thyroid, make sure your thyroid is the main medicine, or the main nutrient, should I say, not even medicine, the food that we body needs to have for good thyroid function is iodine. Iodine is so essential for the good thyroid health. In fact, a lot of our food is devoid of iodine. We need to actually eat more iodine. If you look at a place in Ghana they have a challenge around thyroid issues because the soil in which they grow their food is deficient in iodine.
Right.
And so they end up with a lot of iodine issues. And the thyroid can produce a lot of what we call over 15 different symptoms, from diabetes to cancer to what they call fatigue, brain fog, dry skin, cardiovascular issues. It can produce what they call a situation when one is experiencing what they call lethargy or depression, again, all from thyroid. So it's very important for us to really look at this thyroid very clearly, because it is a main contributor to what we call obesity, and there's over 90 different issues that can actually contribute to weight. But we can't go through all of them here. What I can mention to you here is the fact that when somebody has what they call water retention is one of them. Okay, most common one is people drinking water, but water, this is again has a connection to the kidneys. The kidneys not able to actually function well, causing water locking of the body. People get edema, which is swollen feet or water retention. Again, you can combat that and utilize things that manage water better. Things like peppermint tea is very good for helping to what they call have better fluid management. It's renowned for that. Again, you can use reishi mushroom. Again, one of our known as the mushroom of immortality is very good for helping people with edema. Again, this works at improving kidney function and optimizing kidney wellness. Again, you can also use what we call a sense of understanding that if you're seeing that your foot is beginning to swell, start to realize that something is going on. Look at doing a kidney function test. See how well your kidney is filtering. Many times, because of dehydration issues, the kidneys become dehydrated, and the filters that go through those kidneys start to collect what they call little particles, which end up as kidney stones, and this can also cause great pain in the body. So it's very important to actually make sure that we're properly hydrated, but also people sometimes drink things like cranberry juice, again, to help improve that. But since we're on the issue of obesity, there's also a switch in our brain that actually is in charge of metabolism. It's called brain metabolism, but it's also connected to weight. So if that switch is actually turned low, that can also be a major contributor to gaining weight. Many times weight gain is also linked to the fact that sometimes our satiety level, which is what tells us to stop eating, we override that, okay? And when we override that, we eat more and more and more. Yes. Usually when your stomach is full, you'll feel your stomach is full. But now, because we have now got an abundance of food, we have been very successful at producing masses of food, good for the nation and good for the world, but we overeat. Okay, yes. And we sometimes put ourselves.
I'm going to keep slowing you down, though, Stephen. I'm going to keep slowing you down because you're getting there that road again. No, this is good though. But, okay. Let's just slow you down a bit. You are right, of course. Our lifestyle and our choice of food is having a real impact on, particularly in relation to obesity. Okay? And you've cited Ghana, and you're not picking on Ghana, people from Ghana, mind you.
No.
I need to say that just for but I've noted, though, I was at Function not too long ago, a Ghanaian function, and I noted that the majority of women, for their height, were heavier than myself. And I'm 6'1". Okay, so it was quite evident that they were heavier than me. And I was concerned, really concerned, the number of women who were clearly heavier than myself. Now, the question that come up, and I really just play these words with you, words such as thick or African big bones and Africans are different from others, okay? Are these valid statements as reasons why obesity has grown in our communities, particularly in the diaspora? Are these valid words, thick, big bones, or Africans are different? Are these valid responses to an expression of concern about obesity in our community?
I think I just want to say for the record as well that I've been to Ghana several times. I love the culture in Ghana, and they are
Yes.
very warm, loving people.
Yes.
And they have got a
Very much
great
so.
culture and
Yes.
great foods as well. They're famous for their jollof rice, and they're famous for many other nice dishes as well that they do. One of the things that we are always understanding in the journey is the fact that everything that we have to look at is that obesity in our community is on the rise. Okay, it's not just among our sisters, but also among the brothers as well.
It's dangerous.
And we
it's
as
dangerous.
brothers, yeah, it's dangerous. The key word, it is dangerous because it means that we shorten our lives.
Yes.
We live with diseases. We move into disease management, and in most cases, what happens is that we now put a medication that eventually sort of shortens to try and control or suppress. Now, some people have gone to extremes. They put what they call a gastric band in position to stop them eating, or other people put what they call they've done an operation to make their stomach smaller. People have gone to great lengths to even sometimes starve themselves, and which I don't think is a good idea. But you always, the body needs or requires food at the level that we're at. We need to nourish ourselves well, but we need to nourish ourselves well with what I would consider foods that build, strengthen, maintain, and also sustain us, because that's what food is meant to be doing. Yes. When we find ourselves in a state where we are actually gaining weight, it's usually one of two things. First thing I'd mention is the fact that many times some people don't look at something called the liver. The liver is one of the main issues or the main organs that we have for detoxification. Many of us are taking in a lot of what they call toxins in our food intake, which we can't help because of herbicides, pesticides that are sprayed on the food, things that we can't help. We can't because nobody's checking their food for side is the fact that the liver can become what they call fatty liver. When the liver becomes when you have a fatty liver, that essence of fatty liver, it now means that the liver, which performs over 300 functions in the body, it literally cannot do what it was designed to do. So it means that some of the job of when somebody has fatty liver syndrome, they now start to put on weight because of liver processing has been reduced in liver function, and that can be a contributing factor. The second factor can also come from the fact I mentioned the thyroid. It could be that the thyroid is not working well, and it's literally causing us to actually put on what we call excess weight because of poor thyroid function. Poor thyroid function leads to poor metabolism, which leads to poor food management in the body. Many times, if we're not eating enough fiber, that can also be a major contributing factor because, again, the body needs fiber for food to flow. When the food stays longer than it needs to stay in the body then tends to put on weight because it now translates that as weight. We talked about also insulin management. When the body has continuous high insulin levels, that can also be a factor that is actually telling the body to put on whatever food you're eating, to store it as weight. So fat is storage of energy for future use. But in most cases, we don't tend to use it because we now moved to a state where we overindulging in the food, and the food is now being put on as weight. So our skin has been made in such a way by the creators that we've got an elastin compound which allows us to burgeon, okay, or to gain weight or to increase our size. For most people, sometimes what happens as well, we are also losing muscle mass. Okay, that can also be a where our system itself is being challenged in the fact that it cannot actually do what it was designed to do because of the fact that the right hormones that are supposed to actually tell the body, okay, this is what we need to do to help to really control this or to make this better managed in position. Many people sometimes go to a situation where there's liver congestion. Okay, so congestion in the liver can also lead to weight gain. Okay, like I said about if the liver is not doing the right job, it can actually be compromised by the fact that we need to. That's why the liver needs bitter foods. In our culture, they used to have what they call bitter foods. Even in Ghana, they have the bitters. Okay, you may have heard of the bitters in Ghana or Nigeria. So we need to take in more bitter foods. There's another food called bitter gourd. Okay, bitter gourd is very good. It's a very funny shaped vegetable, but it's very good for the liver, very good for the body. It's very bitter. Bitter is good. Okay, bitter is good for a condition and program to follow sweet all the time. But we need sour taste. We need bitter taste. We need a astringent taste. We need a variety of tastes in the body for food intake. Makes one of the main contributors is also impaction of waste in the colon. Many people today are suffering from what they call weight gain because the colon has been now impacted with waste that is now coming out of the body. Okay, why would we be mindful? The liver is our main detoxification organ. It is what we rely on to remove waste from the body. In fact, before any food nutrients get into our blood supply, they go through the liver to prevent any toxicity from reaching our main system. But even as the liver gets compromised, the liver performs over 400 different functions around the body. Now, when its functionality or efficiency is compromised, it diminishes what it's supposed to be doing around the body. And this can lead to weight gain. When you end up with something called fats that are stored in the liver, some people may call it fatty liver syndrome. And this can lead to what we call weight gain because the liver is supposed to be also managing cholesterol as well at some level. So it literally leads us to actually now put on weight in the terms of what they call subcutaneous fat, or sometimes visceral fat that can actually also be dangerous fat around our organs. Now, you mentioned also the fact that I was mentioning the fact that this also has also caused a situation where as a people, sometimes we've taken on a sedentary lifestyle without knowing it. We sit in the office for hours on end, then we sit in the car for hours on end, then we lie down in our bed for 8 hours. So there's very little movement around exercise. So when we're not moving the body, exercising the body or stretching the body actually was, if you look at our ancient ones, they were always on the move. They were moving a lot. They were walking a lot. They were actually hunter-gatherers. So they had what they call a mobility sense of lifestyle. And today, everything is being slowed down to you either sit in front of the screen. Yeah. So what I'm trying to get at is that we need to actually also increase the way we actually move our system. If at work, you can walk up the stairs or walk down the stairs, or don't use the lift. I'm trying to say, if you've got a 10-story building, you don't walk up 10 stairs. At least walk up 3 stairs, 3 levels, and then walk up take the lift up. So what I'm trying to say is that we can be much more active in this area of moving our bodies and also exercising our system, because that is also a way of preventing obesity. Now, as I said earlier on, in many cases, some people sometimes can do all the exercises, but because their thyroid is not working properly, is underactive, they can lead them to weight gain because of poor metabolism. For many people, sometimes, where I was saying earlier on, the thyroid can give you over 15 different conditions, from diabetes to cancer to what we call lethargic depression, brain fog, dry skin. It can also bring about a situation where you have cardiovascular issues. It can bring on what they call excessive weight gain, can be excessive weight loss as well. It can also cause a situation where you are having what they call cognitive impairment because of the thyroid. So the thyroid is like the conductor of the body. It is what is telling the body what to do and how to do it. Its main food is iodine, but a lot of our diet today is very low in iodine, which is predisposing us to gain weight. Now, for many people, sometimes weight can come from bad digestion, which is known as dysbiosis. So it means that your body is not digesting your food well, because sometimes as we age, we are actually now having low enzyme production or poor enzyme efficiency. And at the same time, we can go into a state where we have also poor gut flora. Again, when these gut bacteria, which the creator put in place, and we're supposed to be having the prebiotics, the probiotics, are not in place, it can also lead to weight gain. And for some people, sometimes when you look at their plate, there's not a single green leaf on there. There's not a single salad. You say, my goodness, how is this person actually living? And they can do that for 3 to sometimes 6 months of not eating any greens at all, no salad, no fresh, no raw foods at all on their plate. And this can cause what they call a predisposition to weight gain, to disease. Again, lack of fiber contributes to disease, contributes to weight gain. Today, we're seeing fluid retention also. You can have what they call water weight, which can also lead to weight gain. Again, people are suffering. They're taking the water in, but the water is not getting properly absorbed, doesn't leave the body very well. So they end up in what they call water storage mode, and they have water weight. Other people sometimes have emotional weight. With emotional weight, again, this is something that I talked about a little bit earlier on, where issues around what we call confidence, or a fear of touch, or a sense of what they call feeling powerless, a lack of self-love, or a sense of unresolved past, or unresolved issues around overcoming obstacles, or lack of self-acceptance, or what we would call imprints or archetypes from the past. Or one would consider also things like stress, the control issues, feeling overwhelmed. These can also lead to weight gain. And emotional weight sometimes it's difficult to diagnose, and people just think, oh, that's just the way I am. You call that you're big bones and big people, and we're naturally a big family. But usually sometimes you can have what they call inherited, what they call genetic propensity, where the full family is a big family. And you look at the father and mother, they come from big stock. So there is also a genetic propensity that can also lead to weight gain. So weight gain, obesity is something that is challenging us as a people, but it's kind of having many angles to it. And one of the angles that we talked about is insulin. Whenever you have high insulin level, that's a communicator to the body to store all your energy as fat. And this can also make you, the higher levels of insulin you have in your system, the more the body is getting a message, store fat, store fat, store fat, or store energy as fat. And you can also find that sometimes there is a situation where our situation around the fact that we have what we call a vicious cycle of eating issues. Sometimes people have eating disorders, that are also weight contributors. And this can come in the form of the fact that somebody's got things like bulimia, or there's somebody's got issues around what they call poor brain metabolism, or they have a situation where the eating disorders linked to the fact that they're overeating, or they're eating the wrong foods, or eating too late, these are all contributing factors. Sometimes it's a level of sugar intake. We are having too much of what they call bad sugars like fructose, things like sucralose, artificial sweeteners like aspartame, there's things like alsulfame K, aspartame, saccharin. In fact, a lot of what we call sugar-free foods now in our market have been flooded in the market. Sometimes parents are saying, I don't want my children on sugar. I don't want my children on sugar. I'm going to buy all the sugar-free drinks. And they don't realizing that they're making the children obese over a period of time, because when the body takes in this liquid, it looks for to metabolize what is going in, but there's what they call highly refined sugar, or what we call aspartame, which is 200 times sweeter than sugar. And this can also cause the body to now move into a state where it now starts to put on weight. It starts to take away the antioxidants that were responsible for metabolizing the body's intake, and now start to mop up and also cause what they call free radical scavenging of these things. So you now put on weight because of what they call bad or what they call sugar-free foods. So there's sugar-free chewing gum, sugar-free ice cream, sugar-free drinks of all sorts. And this is all targeted at children. Weight is also related to deficiencies. Okay. And many times when the body doesn't have good vitamins levels and good mineral levels and good amino acids and good tissue salt levels and good adaptogens and good antioxidants, the body starts to malfunction or gain weight as a way of protecting itself. Sometimes as men, we tend to get weight around our stomach area because of the fact that this is like the way most of us are ingesting food from the outside. So the body creates a protective layer to protect us from what they call toxicity. So toxins are the greatest contributor of what we call weight gain. In fact, whenever we do a fast or whenever we do some sort of detox, we tend to lose weight as a side effect because the body now gets a chance to release a lot of toxins. The body always tries to protect the brain, which is made of 60% fat, from toxicity. So it actually starts to store the toxins in the fat. So whenever you're finding that we're gaining weight, it's always because of the toxic overload on the human body is rising. And that way the body says, you know what, I'm going to protect you by storing more fat. And as we eat more things that are devoid of nutrients, as we eat more things that are highly toxic without realizing it, the body's intelligence tells it storage in the fat, storage in the fat. That is why we're seeing what we call an obesity increasing, and obesity leading to conditions like diabetes and many other issues as well. Just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Thank you. That's well said. And there's a certain logic to it, which I know the majority of our listeners and viewers can appreciate and understand. And we'll go through.
Well, that's the first part of that interview, which extends beyond 3 hours. It was a information-rich experience, and he takes us through the entire spectrum that is our lifestyle. We started off with the foods, various foods, the conditions, get on to exercise, our mental, and of course, our spiritual health. There's much here to be had. So this interview and a number of other interviews will be included in a podcast series. So if you go to the Motivator Show, the YouTube channel, you'll see a podcast entitled We Choose a Healthy Lifestyle. And you will see the rest of this interview. It will be proportioned in 30-minute slots, as it were, so it's digestible, and there will be other contributors. But I'm assuring you, if you watch the entire series, you, your family, your network, your wider communities will be transformed. If you listen keenly, study earnestly, honestly, yeah, you will transform your lifestyle. And together we will make the difference. That's why the Motivator Show exists. If in doubt, ask questions. If in doubt, ask questions. There's a certain extension to that interview in which we were able to focus on a specific African product that has been produced, which is the sum total of thousands of years of traditional medicine's wisdom, incorporated in a modern format in term Mariandina, about which you will learn more in the follow-up podcast to this one. But what you can be assured is that the information provided today is clear, is concise, is precise. It's information if you can incorporate as part of your consciousness and share with your family, friends, and your network. Together, we can transform the world. So don't keep the information to yourself. Do not keep the information to yourself. Don't ask that if you're new to the Motivator Show, you're on YouTube, of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And that tells the YouTube algorithm that there's real interest in the content that we're providing. If you're not able to do that, leave a message or give us a thumbs up, okay? Again, to tell the YouTube algorithm that this is a useful source of information and the algorithm should spread that across the billion or so YouTube users. And it's free to be a YouTube subscriber. will help us out a great deal. But that was truly a thrilling opening part of that interview. A man from the cradle of our species, yeah, in Kenya, in the Rift Valley, yeah, a man able to speak with the confidence of civilization, long before civilization came here to Asia, a man able to recite the wisdom of the peoples and bring that wisdom to the world in an unfiltered fashion. Yeah, powerful, powerful, powerful. And together we can transform the world. So this is the Motivator Show. I'm going to sign off now, but watch the next episode coming up shortly. If in doubt, go to the Motivator Show channel. You'll see our past episodes, you'll see our podcast series, and you will find them that they will suit a broad range of palettes. But fundamentally, we're concerned with social change, with healing, togetherness, with beauty, handsomeness, and trust and respect. And if you could honor those words, then you've found the right place. You've found the right place. If in doubt, ask questions. But if you have doubts, of course, you most certainly must ask questions. If you are content, I'm going to encourage you to continue to ask questions. Okay? Because whilst I don't mind being content, we have to avoid complacency. Complacency could be considered to be worse than being ignorant. We must always be curious. Ask questions, even the most irrelevant questions. Ask questions of all those around you. I believe today's podcast has really set the scene for the podcast series that relates to Africans, Ghanaians, Jamaicans, yeah? Trinidadians, South Africans, Nigerians, yeah, yeah, Namibians, yes, Americans, Brazilians, yes. Choose a healthy lifestyle because together we can transform the world. If in doubt, ask questions. I want to thank you for your support. Spread the word, and together we will enjoy and be transformative. Thank you.
My name is Stephen Tamale Sali. My African name is Tamale, meaning that you won't finish. And in our the language Luganda, I'm from Uganda, which is here the source of the Nile, which is the largest lake in Africa, called Lake Victoria. The original name for that lake is Lake Nile Valley, which means the lake of the gods. We're here at the Rift Valley, right at the heart of the motherland, sometimes also referred to as the mountains of the moon. So this is where the source of life began, right here in the heart of the Central African aspect of the Rift Valley. So yes, my name is Stephen Sali Tamale, and really I am a holistic health therapist. I work with energy, frequency, and vibration. I do what we call analysis of the human body in using energy, looking at root causes, and also I am also the CEO of Meridian Wellness Solutions, an organization that was set up by Professor Charles Sally in the Meridian Research Foundation.
Okay, now you're giving away too much too soon. Okay, let me get there. So you've given us